Greetings, everybody. So, it's a beautiful night. Ask God, what should I read? Something we've already touched up on. We're talking to the heathens. You know what you're supposed to do. Jeremiah, chapters 13 through 17. I'm not reading the entire thing because you're not going to listen to me read the whole thing. However, I highly, highly suggest, for your own sake, for your own good, I suggest that you read the whole thing on your own, and whatever else you feel called to do on your own, do that. It's time. It's been time. It's always been the time. If you're not right with God yet, get right with God. What God has been telling me to tell you is that Judgment Day is already here. We are in the day of judgment already. And it started with the solar eclipse, the death, the rebirth of the Son of God. So, if you didn't know, now you know. I probably just blew somebody's mind. Or you don't believe me, and you don't have to just believe everything I say. But what you do is you take that information because you were led here to my video for a reason, and you pray on it. And you ask for confirmation. And that's what you should do with everything. You don't believe everything everybody says. But I digress because we need to get into this word. Verse 9. This is what God says. After this manner, I will ruin the pride of Judah and the great pride of Jerusalem. This evil people who refuse to listen to my words, who walk in the imagination of their heart, following their own stubborn inclinations, and walk after the lesser gods of the Most High, to serve them, worship them, will be just like this belt which is unfit for use. So what does God mean by following lesser gods? It could be anything from fornication to drunkenness to lust. And lust can be around anything, not just sexual. Could be monetary, lust for fame, anything that's a sin, anything that you go to. It could even be sugar, listening to evil music that you have no business listening to. You make gods out of things that are harmful to you. Anything that you put above God, your pastor, your spiritual teacher can be your God because you put them above the real Father, the Most High, the creator of everything. Some things, they are supposed to be like a tool to you. They are supposed to help you, but they're not supposed to be above God. All right. Oh, they took my light out. We gonna keep going, all right? And I look at everything. Everything is spiritual. That's spiritual. Okay, so the light has been turned off after talking about worshiping lesser gods. All right, so take that how you think you should take it. We gonna keep going. I have caused the whole house of Israel and the house of Judah to be bound to me, says God, so they might be to me as a people, and for a name, and for a praise, and for a glory, but they wouldn't listen. Therefore, speak to them this word. Every wine jar will be filled with wine, and they will say to you, do you not certainly know that every wine jar will be filled with wine? And you will say, this is what God said, behold, I will fill all the inhabitants of this land, even the kings who sit upon David's throne, and the priests and the prophets, and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem, with drunkenness. And I will dash them one against another, even the fathers and the sons together, says God. I will not pity nor spare, nor have mercy, but will destroy them. And why is that? Why is it that God will cause you to be saddened? Because when people get into drunkenness and alcoholism and turning to their vices, turning to whatever they use to try to feel better, right? It's because you have been warned. This video, this message to you now is not the first one that you're getting. If this is for you, it's because you were already warned multiple times. Probably twice, probably thrice, probably 10 times, right? Because God is graceful. But as you know, when the mallet gets put down, when it's Judgment Day, you can't escape. You can't escape the punishment. You can't escape the consequences. You can and should, however, turn to God so that you don't keep stacking on this bad karma, keep stacking on this punishment. You're still going to have to deal with what you've done. Think of it in the real world, the physical world. You commit a crime and you're caught. Even if you turn around, you stop doing whatever it is you're doing, you're still going to have to go to court and be judged. You're still going to have to serve your time. This is no different. And it's not unfair. It's not unfair to you. It's not. If anything, it's unfair to God. Because you've been given chance after chance. You've been given a lot of time. A lot of time to turn things around. But it's time. And so don't blame it on other people when it happens. Don't blame it on God. Is it really somebody else's fault that you did wrong? You turned away from God and now you're here? Yeah, you are supposed to be a child of God. But what kind of parent would you be to let your child continue to do things that are wrong, not only harmful to other people but themselves, and to just let them keep doing it? Not only are they destroying themselves but the world around them. Hear and give ear. Do not be proud, for God has spoken. Put down your pride and your ego. Be humble. Give glory to God before He causes darkness, before your feet stumble on the dark mountains, and while you look for light. As the light has been turned off. Well, I mean, like I said, it's kind of a little late. You can still do better for in the future after you serve your time. And that's the best thing you could do. Maybe you might even be able to get out on good behavior. You see, the light has been turned off. He turns it into the shadow of death and makes it dense darkness. But if you will not listen to this, as we see you haven't, my soul will weep in secret for your pride. My eyes will weep bitterly and run down with tears because God's flock has been taken captive. To the king and to the queen mother, humble yourselves, sit in a lowly seat, for your principalities will come down. The crown of your glory. This also includes losing gifts, your spiritual gifts, all that you've worked for. Why would you throw that away? Your cities will be held captive. Captive by who? Captive by the lesser gods that you serve. God will place you into the hands that He's protected you from, the ones that you've been serving, and will let you see just what it is that you've been serving. What came to my mind? The fornication. You know what that is. Now it's going to overtake you. Where is the flock that was given to you, your beautiful sheep? Verse 20. What will you say when He punishes you by setting over you those who you allied yourself with, instructing them to be head over you? Will not pangs take hold of you as a woman in labor? Therefore, I myself will throw your skirts up over your face, so your shame may be exposed. I have seen your adulteries with your nayings. The lewdness of your whoredom was the abominations, the gods and goddesses on the hills and the fields. Woe to you, Jerusalem! How long will you be unclean? You will be ashamed, embarrassed, because you knew better. Right? Your adulteries. What did I just say? You see how God works? You're about to see just how real God is because you walked away. A lot of people thought you could get away with stuff. Like, maybe you were special, you were above others, you were able to just get away with stuff. No. The thing is, when you know God, when you've been put in a higher position, you're supposed to be an example. You're supposed to help lead others to God, to salvation. Do you not remember the pains and the hardships that you've went through in your life? I know you've been through them because we all have. Don't you want to help pull some people out of that? Don't you want them to know love, to know the better version of themselves? But instead, you want to look down on them for struggling. You want to give in to temporary pleasures that are actually keeping you up at night. Some of you might not even hear the voice of God anymore because you have so many different things going on in your mind, so many other things that you've allowed in. If God is to dwell within you, think, what kind of house are you giving God to live in? It's getting quite dark. And I've been told to wear my black head wrap. Dark. So continue to listen closely. Concerning the drought, we're in chapter 14. Judah mourns, her gates languish, and the city of Jerusalem have gone up. Their nobles have sent their servants for water. They went to the cisterns but found no water. They returned with their vessels empty. They were ashamed and confounded and covered their heads. No more riches, no more wealth, all that you've worked for. Verse 7, O God, though our iniquities testify against us, act for your name's sake, for our backslidings are many. We have sinned against you, O the hope of Israel, Savior in time of trouble. Why are you like a stranger in the land, like a traveler who stays only the night? For you, O God, are in the midst of us, and we are called with your name. Don't leave us. This is what God says. To the degree already pointed out, have they loved to wander. They have not restrained their feet, therefore God does not accept them. You will now remember their iniquity and punish their sins. God said to me, do not pray for the welfare of this people. When they fast, I will not listen to their cry. And when they offer burnt offerings and grain offering, I will not accept them, but I will consume them by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence. Okay? When you can't escape, you can't hide. I've said it before and I'll say it again. And God said to me, the prophets prophesy lies in my name. I have not sent them. They don't have authority, nor have I commanded them, nor have I spoken to them. Like I said, you don't even hear the voice of God anymore. They prophesy to you false visions, divinations of lesser gods, worship, the deceit of their own minds. Their own minds. What they feel people should know, what they want to say. Not what God is saying. It's not even God speaking to them. God doesn't even hear their prayers. Your prayers. I'm talking to you. Chapter 15, verse 2. And it will come to pass, if they say to you, where should we go? Then you should tell them, this is what God says. Such as are for death, to death. Such as are for the sword, to the sword. And such as are for the famine, to the famine. And such as are for the captivity, to captivity. I will appoint over them 4 kinds of destroyers, says God. The sword to slay, the dogs to drag off, and the fowls of the air and the beasts of the earth to devour and destroy. I will cause them to be abhorrence in all the kingdoms of the earth because of what they did. Who will have pity on you? Who will bemoan you? Who will turn aside to ask how you're doing? Okay, we're almost done. 16, verse 2, you will not take a wife, nor will you have sons or daughters in this place. This is what God says concerning the sons and daughters who are born in this place. They will die horrible deaths. They will not be lamented, nor will they be buried, but they will be like refuse on the face of the earth. They will be consumed by the sword and famine, and their carcasses will be meat for the birds of the skies and for beasts of the earth. Do not enter the house of the mourning, nor go to lament or bemoan them, for I have taken away my peace from this people, even my loving kindness and mercy. But the great and the insignificant will die in this land. They will not be buried, nor will men lament for them. So, even your children, your family, your loved ones will be affected because of what you've done. And it's a shame. But the shame is on you. Chapter 17, verse 5, this is what God says. Cursed is the man who trusts in man, who makes flesh his arm, whose heart departs from God. For he will be like a bush in the desert, will not see success when it comes, but will inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, a salt land not inhabited. Even those who you've made your enemy, who you weren't supposed to, you will watch them succeed. You will have to watch others succeed before you. The heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? I, God, search the heart. I test the mind, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. Verse 7, blessed is the man who trusts in God and whose hope is in God. O God, the hope of Israel, all who forsake you will be ashamed. For it is said, those who depart from me will be written in the earth because they have forsaken God, the fountain of living waters. So not only those who don't know God are being judged, but especially those who already know God and decided to turn away. It's on you. And I just hope that moving forward, after the punishment, that you know what it is that you need to do. Oh, I just saw a flash in the sky, a storm in the distance. All right. And with that, it's time to go.